Well, I'm going to begin by asking if you could just tell us a little bit about your character in the Guvnors.
I play a character called Adam Shenko. He's quite a troubled young man. His kind of main goal throughout the film is to kind of gain the respect of his neighbourhood, let's say, and he kind of will go to any means to do so. He's not a nice guy, not really, but there are certain points in the film where you can sympathise with him, because he kind of looks after his little brother on his own. They don't have parents, so there's that side to him that you can sympathise. But then there's kind of things he does which are rather brutal, horrible things. So it's kind of, but I think that's a very clever thing that Gabe Turner, the director, did. With his characters, you never really know if you hate him or quite like him in a way. I mean, he's not really meant to be liked, but at the same time, you can kind of feel something for him. But yeah, brilliant character. I thought it was really, when I read the role, I was like, yeah, really interested in that.
I'm not sort of name names or anything, but was he based on anyone you've sort of ever encountered before? Was there a type of person that you kind of met that you kind of tried to base him around at all?
No, I mean, when I read the script, it was literally just how I read it, and I mean, some people may have played it differently, may have played it more thuggish and a bit more of a brute kind of thing, but I always feel like the most effective way that you play a villain, and just from watching films growing up and whatnot, is that when the villain is like calm and calculated and just seems more intelligent. Do you know what I mean? So when I read that role, that's just what naturally happened. There's a few kind of films that I watched. There's a few films that I kind of gained like little bits of inspiration from, mainly Ben Kingsley and Sexy Beast, kind of how psychotic he is without really breaking out. There's a few points where he like really snaps and goes a bit mad, but at a certain point it's all kind of the use of his face and his eyes and his voice is very sinister. Do you know what I mean? And I kind of wanted to, in a way, replicate that. It's kind of not fully, but I think I've always wanted to play an absolute psychopath. So I wanted this, for as much as I could, for Adam Shenko to be as much a psychopath as possible.
It must have been really good fun as well to play the kind of antagonist of the piece. I've always imagined on a film set that's the kind of the most desired role for an actor.
Yeah, it was really good. It was really, really good. I mean, especially as in my normal life, I'm seen as like quite a happy kind of upbeat kind of person, and then to kind of play a role which completely contrasts with that is quite fun. Yeah.
So was it always the intention for you to sort of get into acting eventually?
Yeah, that was my main passion growing up. I always wanted to be an actor. Academia did agree with me, but I wasn't very interested in it. I always wanted to. I just wanted to be in front of a camera, kind of thing. But then it kind of took a hiatus when Rizzle Kicks kind of blew into the foreground. But I always knew I'd get back into it at some point. And kind of this seemed just the right role and the right time to do it, because Gabe Turner's a very good friend of mine, and it's very rare that you're going to find someone that you can work with that you're so close to, with a role which is so perfect for what I wanted to achieve at a time where I'm at kind of like the peak of my career. Well, what has been the peak of my career so far. So yeah, it just seemed like the perfect time to do it, get back into it. Yeah.
In regards to working with Gabe, was it quite, because this is obviously your sort of feature film debut, and this is his dramatic feature film debut.
Yeah.
Do you think that helped, having sort of a director that you almost put in the same boat to some extent? You were kind of going in on this together in a way.
Yeah, well, it's his baby. Do you know what I mean? He wrote it, and he died, and so he spent a lot more time involved with this script than I did. But what Gabe, anyone who meets Gabe will have the same impression of him. He's one of the best guys in the entire world, and he created this atmosphere on set. Like, I've been on sets, not film sets, but like production sets, you know what I mean? And I've never once been on a set which has been a nicer environment. Something about that guy that you're just drawn to him. He's just incredible, like, persona. He's so lovely, and he's just a big friendly giant. Do you know what I mean? And I think it's rare that you can find someone with that quality. I mean, on the kind of time limit we had for shooting the film, and kind of the budget we were working on, to create what he's created in such a short space of time is exceptional. And everyone on the set really wanted to be there, and yeah, it was he really kind of trusted me. I had this vision of what I wanted it to be, which was originally actually different to how he pictured the role. But when I brought it to him, he kind of understood where I was trying to go with it. But then he also had like a physical side to him that he wanted, that I thought differently. So we kind of worked. It was a really, really, really good balance. Where I kind of like set the tone for like the voice and the pace of his speech and his like facial presence and whatnot. But then he had like kind of the idea of that. We watched a lot of like army general videos and lots of scenes, like line up scenes from films and stuff. And he really had that idea, because I'm a skinny little guy, do you know what I mean? And somehow made to look quite broad and like threatening, do you know what I mean? So that was very well done to Gay Turner for kind of creating that and bringing that out of me.
I mean, because obviously in the film it's all about the kind of the old guard against the kind of the new guard in many ways. Was there ever that kind of divide on set? Were you kind of were you kind of hanging around with the kind of your crew, and then they were sort of on their side?
Well, have you seen the film?
Yeah.
So I only meet Doug twice. Do you know what I mean? So we never were filming together. All the scenes were, pretty much the majority of the scenes was just me and my boys, and the same with Doug Allen's character Mitch. It's all just him and his boys. So it was weird kind of watching it in its entirety, because we'd not seen anything of what they'd been up to. Do you know what I mean? But then Gabe would always wind me up, and apparently he'd do the same to Doug, where he'd be like, mate, Doug, because there was one pivotal scene in the film where Doug and I finally meet, and he'd always be like, mate, Harley, Doug brought it yesterday, like, you do not understand how sick that guy, he's scared, like, he's a joke. And I was always be like, okay, and he'd always wind me up and boil me up, and then he'd do the same to Doug. He'd go to Doug like, alright, bruv, I Harley killed, like, you do not want to, like. And so like we were kind of like very ready for that scene. And then so there was a lot of kind of like, I don't know, there was just a certain atmosphere which I haven't experienced before, where I was just so prepared but also so scared at the same time. It was really interesting. There's a funny dynamic between us and kind of the police officers. Richard Blackwood, especially for me, like he'd say now that we're good friends, but during the filming I would just take the piss out of him the whole time, and it would wind him up so much, to the point where after we'd film he'd go, I needed that to fully hate you. Do you know what I mean? Like I'd just stand there and just be like, "Oi, Richard, didn't you have like a music career like 25,000 years ago?" I just wind him up, and he'd just be like, "I can't be." He's actually bringing it like and saying real stuff, and then afterwards I was just like, I was doing that, and he's like, "I really needed that, because it really got me to a point where I needed to hate you that much." So it was an interesting dynamic.
So you're saying before you sort of at times sort of scared about shooting that particular scene, but what do you think you're more nervous about? Would you be more nervous about shooting a big scene in a movie like this, or going out on stage in front of 30,000 people?
Definitely this. I mean, when I shot that scene with Doug, it was very far into the filming process. So I was kind of ready on like an acting level. I mean, there's one scene in the film, because we didn't shoot it chronologically. There's one scene in the film, it's the first day of filming, where I hadn't quite nailed the character yet, and it's slap bang in like the middle of the film, and I hate it so much because it's so different. to a lot of the other. Well, I see it as different. But yeah, like if I was to ever like go into an environment of a film where I wasn't best friends with the director, and I wasn't Charlie Palmer Merkel, who plays my best friend in this, is actually my best friend in real life as well. So it was a very comfortable environment. So yeah, definitely if I was ever to be in a film where I had such a big scene like that, it's 100%. I'd be more nervous to do that. Maybe if I performed in front of 30,000 people without Jordan, I might feel a few nerves. But we've done so many gigs now that it's just pure kind of excitement whenever we perform.
Brilliant.